Congressman Jeff Duncan is joining us. It's so good to have you back on the program, Congressman. How you doing?
Tony, I'm doing great and glad Elon Musk has supported the First Amendment right to free speech and bought Twitter, and maybe that platform will be much better than it has been.
Well, we're all hopeful. I mean, that's what we have to be right now, right? Because you never know about these guys, what they're really going to do. If he does what he says he's going to do, then Twitter is going to become a much more friendly space for free speech. And the fact that the left is losing their mind over that is just all the evidence anybody should ever need that progressives are not for free speech. They're for free speech for themselves, but not for anybody else. So it's been an interesting couple of days.
It just points to their censorship and what they have done to stifle free speech during the Trump administration and for conservatives like me and you.
You know, one thing, though, I am concerned about Elon Musk. I mean, he's spending, $44 billion. I mean, I'm afraid it's going to hurt him. You know, he's kind of like $44 billion for Elon Musk is kind of like Uncle Jed on the Beverly Hillbillies. He used to talk about the millions, that he had. It was just walking around money for Uncle Jed. So this is walking around money for Elon Musk to spend that. Let's dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was borrowed, too. So, I mean, the company is taking on some debt, and investors are going to have to step up. But yeah, I'm concerned that it's going to affect a lot of his other businesses.
Yeah.
A lot of the liberals buy the Teslas, and is that going to, affect that business as well?
Nah. See, this is a problem. Liberals will keep buying Teslas, and conservatives keep going to Disney World. That's just the way that works in the real world. When it comes down to it. All right, let's talk about. There's three things really, and then I want to see what's on your mind. By the way, we've gotten till 9 o'clock. Are you good with us till 9?
I am, yes, sir.
Okay, good. There are three things that are dominating the news cycles. Obviously, the war in Ukraine. Now we've got, reports that Moldova is getting some shelling. Moldova is a country that's in between Romania and the Ukraine. You've got the atrocities that are being documented, just absolute war crimes committed by Vladimir Putin. We're doing what seems to be all that we can by sending weapon systems, and it seems to me we could have done that a lot sooner. But what is your take? Because you really have a strong grip on international affairs. So I want you to talk about this whole situation for us for a little bit.
Well, nobody knows exactly what Vladimir Putin's aims are, but he is imperialistic, and I believe he wants to rebuild the old Soviet Union. He's a Soviet former KGB operative and head of KGB eventually, and or what they became. And so he wants to have that power. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world based on his fingers are in everything in Russia. Everything Russia sells or does, he gets a cut of. One thing that the United States can do and should do is become energy independent, because Russia provides, not just Germany, but Russia provides Europe, European countries, a lot of their sources of energy, whether it's natural gas or coal or oil or other things. And so we can end their dependence on Russia because we have the resources here that we can export. We can be a large producer of both natural gas and other fossil fuels and send them to Europe so they can not be dependent on Putin. They have been dependent on him in the past. He's used the levers and the spigot to turn it on and off and influence policy in Europe. So that's one thing we can do. And it also eats into his pocketbook. We can stop buying Russian oil and gas here in this country, or any of the Russian states like Venezuela or even Iran. We can just not buy their oil and produce here at home. We have been blessed with the resources here, but we're cursed with liberal politicians, Tony, who don't want us to go after our own resources and be self-sustaining, energy independent. So those are some things. We've got to watch what Vladimir Putin does both in Moldova and what Belarus may do with neighboring countries, as they're a Russian state, basically. And then at the end of the day, our weapon system is going to be enough. We need to make sure that this president, while we don't want him to be a Neville Chamberlain, we need him to be strong for the world. The world needs America to be strong in this standing up to this type of aggression, because but I'm not saying that the United States ought to send troops. They're not a NATO country. We don't have any sort of NATO contractual alliance with Ukraine. but we should try to support them and give them the weapon systems so they can defend themselves and push back against Vladimir Putin's imperialistic goals there.
Yeah, because Russia really is an existential threat. I mean, they're a threat to the stability of Europe, which if the stability of Europe fails or falls, or if Europe becomes inherently unstable, that's bad for the United States. I mean, that affects our standard of living here, correct?
Absolutely. And we don't need to see President Biden, say, okay, you can have Ukraine, but we're not going to let you do anything else. That's very Neville Chamberlain-esque, and we can't do that. So supporting Ukraine and trying to stop Russia there is the right thing to do for all European countries to step up and stop him there. The United States just needs to be a leader in that.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about a couple of things. Obviously, the two top issues on voters' minds as we head toward the midterms are, in order, inflation and immigration. So let's talk about inflation first. Do you think anything is being done? Do you see anything being done to try to control the runaway inflation that we're experiencing right now?
We don't. I mean, and it is directly tied to what we talked about a minute ago, and that's American energy. We're seeing record high gas prices, and those costs are being passed on to the consumer. We're seeing supply chain issues that they're tying into COVID, and they are a lot of COVID related, but they're also related to California trucking policies and California shipping policies and environmental policies. They're keeping those goods from entering the port because they don't have the trucks to get them across the country, or at least away from the port to inland ports so they can be distributed. So that's the first thing. The Democrats believe they can spend their way out of this, and throwing more money at this problem from the government is the wrong thing to do because it's borrowed money anyway. So we're going to see rising interest rates. We already see that going on with the Fed. That means the cost of borrowing is more. And so all that's playing into this. What companies have to pay to borrow money to keep their operations going and pay their employees and buy inventory and whatnot, that higher cost of borrowing is passed on to the consumer as well, and that's part of the inflationary factor as well. Right. It comes down to supply and demand. COVID really limited supply. Consumer demand is still up. China's definitely playing in a part into this with their policies on America because, they're an adversary too. So, throwing more government money at this and giving, supplemental spending and to Americans, which I think you'll probably see another attempt by this administration to send a stimulus check or something to help America. That's the wrong policy, Tony.
Yeah.
How about the government get out of the way and unleash American innovation and entrepreneurialism and allow American business to create jobs and all that? So would be the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, let me ask you this question that sort of relates, because when we're dealing with an issue like inflation and how it's affecting so many Americans, we need decisive leadership in order to address this. Recently, President Biden was asked a question about Title 42, and he answered the question by talking about the mask mandate and the Supreme Court decision about that and whether it would be appealed. How concerned are you, seriously, about the mental health of the president and his capacity to deal with these issues that are on the table?
Well, my father died of Alzheimer's, Tony, and I've seen the signs in President Biden of, onset dementia. He just doesn't seem to have the faculties, just the way he shuffles, the way he approaches questions, his confusion, and so all that is playing into his ability. I don't think he's calling all the shots. I really think that the Obama holdovers, or people that were in the Obama administration or rehired by the Biden administration, are really running the show, and it's unfortunate because we're supposed to have a commander-in-chief, we're supposed to have a president that has the faculties to make decisions, and I don't think we necessarily have that going on within the Biden administration, and it's alarming. Yeah. Ronnie Jackson is a former doctor to many presidents, and he's seen it, and he's tried to raise awareness with other members of Congress, the press, and others, and he's not getting any traction because they want to try to tamp this down because they know Biden, while he's not making the decisions, the ones they want to make the decisions, the liberal, George Soros-type people in the administration are making decisions. That's what the left wants and agrees with.
We've got, let's pivot over to immigration. We have just a porous border. Border security is really is a joke. You've got more people crossing the border now than at any time in the last 20 years. It's a very serious and a very dangerous situation. Title 42 has been temporarily extended by a federal judge, and yesterday the United States Supreme Court heard arguments in keeping the Remain in Mexico policy in place, and who knows what the court's going to do. But we're facing the possibility of an increase of a 4 to 5-fold increase in the number of illegal aliens crossing the border if Title 42 is laid aside, because we already see the migrants there. They're on their way. They sense an opportunity here. How serious do you see this issue, and is there anything that can be done apart from getting Congress in different hands come November?
Well, the American people, Tony, have seen the open border. They've seen the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people streaming across unfettered, and they realize they're going to affect our nation, the ability of their kids to get jobs, the benefits the government is going to be paying for these illegals. They're concerned about the drug, fentanyl and cocaine and heroin and marijuana are all streaming across, and they're concerned that's coming to their communities. They're seeing a rising level of crime in their communities. A lot of it's cartel-esque, and so they're concerned that these immigrants are bringing their crime elements as well into our communities. They are being bussed into or flown into our states. Every state is a border state now, so Americans are seeing that, and they're concerned. They also understand that we have immigration laws. We have laws that allow people to come here legally and immigrate and become citizens of this country, but the illegality of just crossing our border without a permission slip or a visa is wrong, and that's going to affect the Democrats definitely at the midterms. And I feel good about our chance to take the House back and possibly the Senate back and be a true check and balance on this administration. But what we can do to get the border secured is tough, because that is an administrative or executive branch function.
Right. It's the executive branch has to enforce the laws that are on the books, and this administration has not shown really any inclination toward that, because they're being influenced by far left progressives who want an open border policy, and that hurts any effort to have a reasonable immigration discussion. Let me ask you
I'll chastise some businesses and other conservatives over past immigration policies that were more, they wanted the workers, or they were bleeding hearts that thought, people coming to America would give them economic opportunity to better themselves. And I agree with, if I was a Honduran or a Guatemalan, I'd probably try to come to the United States at this time too and better my family. But from a conservative standpoint, we have to believe in the law and believe there's a legal way to do all that.
Right, and that, I think that's the thing, that's the element obviously that's missing. We don't have a coherent, cohesive immigration policy that addresses the needs of the United States for workers, which we have. We have a worker shortage right now in the United States, and we could have a robust program bringing people here to work, but we don't, because we have chaos. And chaos is never a solution.
What was interesting about that is during the Trump administration, we worked on some immigration laws that expanded all the legal immigration categories for workers. And we had ended up with Goodlet 1 and Goodlet 2 bills that came to the floor. Neither one of them did what the bill we were working on, the third tranche of that got poo-pooed by, believe it or not, the Tuesday group, moderate Republicans who didn't want E-Verify and wanted more open border policies. And so we had a way to do that legally, and we were working very hard on it, and it ended up with failure because we couldn't get it out of the House.
Let's go back and as we talk about the midterms, I'm concerned that the January 6th committee has become exactly what we feared it would be, because of the way that Democrats would not allow certain conservatives to be on the committee, and it was made up primarily of people that lean to the left, even from the Republican Party, who have at least, if not leaning to the left, have a bad attitude or about Donald Trump. And this committee seems to be, instead of focusing on what happened and why it happened and what we can do to make it not happen again. It seems to be focused on the politics of blaming the Republicans and demonizing them prior to the midterms. And they're expecting to release a report, of course, in time for the midterms. Am I right in my assessment about that?
You're spot on. It is a witch hunt. It is designed to be a political tool. It's not even like a McCarthy committee. It's designed to paint Donald Trump and supporters of Donald Trump in a bad light. And look, nobody agrees with the break-in of the Capitol and the invasion there that happened that day and people that illegally entered. That was wrong. But people did have the right to come to Washington and protest because they were upset about what they felt happened during the election, right or wrong. That's how they felt, and they have the right to petition the government for redress of grievances, and that's what they were doing, peacefully assembling until they violated the Capitol. And so release the tapes. Show us the people. Let's have the names of some of the people that we see on the tapes that we have seen that have broke in that we still don't know who they are, and they haven't been arrested, but then you arrest the other folks. So we know you know or have the ability to figure out who these people are, but Nancy Pelosi and them won't release the surveillance tapes of the Capitol and some other things that will give a broader and better, clearer picture about what exactly transpired and who the people were and what elements may have been involved in it.
Right.
Congressman, thank you very much for your time this morning. We'd like to give you just a minute at the end to tell us what things you're working on and kind of what things are lighting your fire in Congress, just as in the last minute or two.
Yeah, so first thing, I don't have any opposition this November, and God is good. I'm blessed by representing the 3rd District, and looks like we'll be on the ballot in November unopposed, so I'm very thankful for that and give God the glory. We're working on energy and commerce stuff. I'm on that committee just trying to work on the energy policies we talked about, but it's much broader than just fossil fuels. It's nuclear energy and what the next generation nuclear power looks like, what South Carolina can do to meet its energy needs going forward. I'm also on a conference committee on this competitiveness against China. There's a number of pieces of legislation involved in this. This is a huge conference committee between House and Senate. I think there's 80 House members and forget how many senators try to come together and conference this package and create something good for the American people, but without having a bunch of bad social policy and spending policies that we know the Democrats are going to try to do. So, the leaders have entrusted me to be one of those conferees, and I look forward to that. It's the first time I've done that in Congress, and I look forward to trying to make that legislation better at the end of the day if it's going to get another vote in Congress.
Well, and the good news is this, that there are still good, principled people working behind the scenes in Congress. We may see a lot of bad stuff going on, but Congress is preparing for the day when Republicans are able to take back the reins, and there'll be some programs coming forth pretty quickly when that happens, hopefully.
Absolutely, and oversight that's much needed this administration, whether it's the border people and the border czars or whether it's about drug use or other things. There's going to be a lot of oversight happening. Guys like Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer are going to step up and do a lot of oversight that we're going to need. You're going to see a lot of the Trey Gowdy-esque, Darrell Issa-esque oversight hearings because of the Democrat administration. So we're going to see a lot of that, but the American people need to see it, and we need to have the answer.
Congressman, we're very grateful for your time. You've been very generous with it today. God bless you. Thank you for serving us so well in Washington, and we look forward to talking to you again.
God bless you, Tony. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, that's it. All the time we've got for today, but we'll see you in the morning at 7 o'clock.